1889 first.
Okay.
1889 first, right? Or is your first?
Oh, he's okay. Okay, they worked it out. Okay, this is item 7, AB 650, Assemblyman Lowe, and it's, you have the floor, Assemblyman. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to see if he needed a little to get out, so go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Senator Bell. First off, let me thank the chair and this committee staff for working with me and my staff on this bill, and for us, state that we will be taking amendments today that do the following: require that there be a disabled access education and training program to instruct its drivers on the compliance with the American with Disabilities Act and California disability rights laws, including making it clear that it is illegal to decline to serve a person with a disability or who has a service animal. There will also be a new article on discrimination saying that no taxicab carrier shall have prejudice, disadvantage, or require different rates or provide different service to a person because of race, religious creed, color, national origin, ancestry, physical handicap, mental condition, occupation, sex, marital status, or change in marital status. Finally, another amendment that will require that the customer be notified of the fee or price of the ride prior to the ride beginning. This bill streamlines the industry and licensure, making common sense reforms rather than creating a patchwork of regulations. I respectfully ask for your support and have other witnesses in support.
Thank you. Witnesses, please, in favor.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members. Jennifer Tannehill with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the Taxicab Paratransit Association of California. We would like to thank the committee for its work on this issue and the insightful informational hearing last February, which has led us to this point. As we have worked over the last several years to bring consumer protections to the changing transportation for hire industry, the legislature requested that the taxi industry make changes to the way it operates in order to better compete, rather than applying current rules for taxis to other models of for-hire transportation. We've heard that request and have worked for over a year to create a new regulatory structure that will allow taxis to better compete. AB 650 is a result of those discussions and a starting point to updating the taxi business model. Given yesterday's announcement that the CPUC's transportation functions will move to the California State Transportation Agency, we will work with the Governor's Office and the legislature to amend AB 650. We support taxi regulation being placed at the Transportation Agency with all of the other models of for-hire transportation. Larry Silva with the San Jose Yellow Checker Cab is with me today to testify in support.
Jurisdiction.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Larry Silva, representing Taxicab Paratransit Association of California. Chairman and members, when the PUC created the TNC category in 2013, it created an unlevel playing field that threatens the very existence of the taxicab industry. There's no debate whether an unlevel playing field exists or that it was created by the state. The state needs to address this issue now. Since the time of the PUC decision, the taxi industry has attempted to again and again to apply what we think are common sense taxi rules to the TNCs. All these efforts have been unsuccessful. In rejecting our proposals, the legislature has told us that it wants to address the unlevel playing field, but not by applying taxi rules to TNCs. Instead, we've been told the playing field should be leveled by changing the regulatory burden on our industry. With their lax rules, the TNCs are beating us in critical areas of price and scale. We cannot wait to go to 400 different cities to level the playing field. We need relief now. The bill will come closer to leveling the playing field in the shortest time possible by moving regulation of taxi from cities to the state, so that all models of for-hire transportation are regulated by the same entity. In addition, having two business models regulated at the same entity will ensure important objective of bringing parity to the different models of transportation. We know that a number of concerns have been expressed about the details of the bill by the PUC, by the League of Cities, and even some of our own board members. We look forward to working through these issues toward a final bill that accomplishes a level playing field while addressing as many of those concerns as we can. We ask for your eye on AB 650. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Witnesses other witnesses in favor, please.
In favor, yes.
Yeah, you can say your name, organization, position.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Marco Soto, representing LA Yellow Cab, Long Beach Yellow Cab, Fiesta Taxi, South Bay Yellow Cab, and United Checker Cab in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Other supporters? Okay, thank you. Witnesses opposing? Come forward, please. Two and two is the rule. You guys want to?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, members.
Hey, there's two witnesses, 2 minutes each.
Thank you. My name is Neil Evans. I'm an attorney. I represent about 40% of the taxi industry in the city of Los Angeles, Beverly Hills Cab, Independent Cab, and Checker Cab. We like the idea of deregulation. We've been suffering from regulation for the last 50 years. The concern we have and what we'd like you to focus on is there's nothing really in the bill right now that addresses the number of cabs, the number of permits, the number of companies. We've had franchises for 50 years in the city of Los Angeles, West Hollywood, and Beverly Hills. We can't have anarchy. The difference between cabs and Uber and TMCs is that cabs can sit and wait for orders to come to them. If you have a flow of cabs that are in excess of what we currently have, say, in the city of Los Angeles, you have more than 2,300 cabs, there's going to be anarchy on the road, and it's going to be unsafe for the customer, it's going to be unsafe for the cab drivers. So there needs to be some level of regulation. It may well be that it should be countywide, because this is an issue of very local concern about traffic flow, countywide, or still allow the cities to at least determine the number of taxi permits and taxi companies. Thank you very much.
Any other speakers? One speaker.
Well, we both like to speak. I should just say, on behalf of the group I represent, the California Regional Council of the Taxi Workers Alliance, that we have been the most active opponent of this bill from start to finish. And I'd ask you for the privilege of allowing me to speak.
Hey, individuals that are opposing it and name organization.
Chairman, my name is Victor Caballero. I am General Manager of Yellow Cab of here in Sacramento. We do not totally oppose this bill right now in the way that it is written. However, there is definitely a need for some amending to it, and I'm also a member of the board of the TPAC, the source of this bill. And again, I'm one of those board members that our president referred to as not being in complete support. So we look forward to amending the bill so that we can then in turn support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Randy Knott. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the City of Sacramento. We are opposed for many reasons that haven't been mentioned. We'd be happy to work.
Other people opposing, please.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Ronnie Verdugo here on behalf of the League of California Cities. Unfortunately, in light of the governor and the legislature's announcement yesterday, we remain opposed. We think it's premature at best to move this bill forward. Thank you.
Hi, Alex Steffen, Monterey Peninsula Taxi Workers Association. We oppose the incoherent and ill-conceived bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Tom Diesso. I've been a San Francisco cab driver since 1975. I'm also a San Francisco Yellow Cab board member. And I oppose this bill because it doesn't address the exploitation of drivers. The minimum wage in San Francisco is $12.50, $12.25. But because there's so many TNC drivers out there, nobody's making that minimum wage. We're probably making somewhere between $6 and $8 an hour. Thank you for your help. I hope you say no.
Yes, sir.
I'm Marcelo Fonseca, career cab driver, full-time driver for almost 28 years in San Francisco. I wish the CPUC had someone here to say if they want jurisdiction of taxes or not. Well, so I strongly oppose this bill.
Say if you're opposing it and your name and organization, please.
I oppose it.
Mr. Chair, members, David Jones, on behalf of the City of Glendale, also opposing the bill. Thanks.
Okay.
Mary McGuire. I'm a member of the San Francisco Taxi Workers Alliance, also a former taxi commissioner from San Francisco. And I'm a taxi driver as well. And I oppose this bill unless it's amended to call for a taxi regulation at a county level. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Joshua Shaw for the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency. We are not opposed. We have not taken a position. We wanted to note for you that we thank the author and his staff for working with us on the exemption they did provide so that our MTA can continue to regulate taxi cabs instead of go up to the PUC regime. But we have noted a technical concern that we want to continue to work with him on that makes sure that that authority doesn't accidentally go away, and we'll be pleased to work with the author on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, questions from the committee? Questions? Anybody have questions? Senator Allen.
Okay, I just want to get a better understanding of how your bill is impacted by yesterday's CPUC decision, and my understanding is things got kicked over to CTC. So are you taking amendments? I mean, give us the state of play.
Thank you very much, Senator Allen. Part of the conversation is the immediate impact that we want to have. The details are still to be ironed out from the proposals that we've seen from the administration. Certainly, we've been in conversation with his office about next steps moving forward. I think the immediate action related to this bill is helpful for the conversation moving forward. As we've had conversations in the previous committee in utilities, we had indicated that the natural entity for this was the CPUC. Certainly, we're happy and open to discussions about the natural place to suggest where this entity should be, but currently as it exists, it would be the CPUC, and so therefore we have this in the language. Certainly we've been also working with the chair of this committee to continuing to address these issues at hand, but again, specifically the details are so new that we're continue conversations, and should the administration wish to have a conversation with respect to this bill, we'd be happy and open to having discussions at the appropriate entity in terms of the authority.
Can I kind of also float that question to the chair and staff and just see how your questions?
Thank you, Senator. The governor made a proposal. It's us to provide the disposal. So, and essentially, we will review the plan and develop what our attitude is on that. And the proposal that he's making essentially puts jurisdiction of this in transportation agency. That invites, and it's not just this, but a lot of other things related to transportation. So it would involve the regulatory aspects, the public interest aspects, a lot of other issues pop up when you start talking about what the governor's proposing. So for me, I think he addressed, the author addressed some of the issues I have. I always, everybody in the committee knows that I always deal with, I want to make sure that we still provide essential transportation services for people with disabilities. That's always going to be something I will ask for, and I want to have no civil rights violated by anybody that provides transportation for people with disabilities. And so that's an issue that I think I got in the amendments. But I think the governor's proposal, I would assume if it goes to the transportation agency, then this committee would have jurisdiction if that's the choice of the legislature, the way we want to do it. So we have to approve it, basically.
Okay, so in light of all of this, you're still recommending an aye vote?
Yes, I recommend an aye vote. I think that this provides a framework we need to move ahead on, and I made some amendments, and I'm sure there's going to be other amendments as we go along. The organization issue will probably take time, I think. I think that will take time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other comments? Yes. Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So initially, when you authored this bill, it was kind of to level the playing field and put taxi cabs under the jurisdiction of the PUC. Now, in light of what we've just talked about and the governor putting TNCs under the regulation of transportation, it seems like if your bill passes, we're just flip-flopping. So now, instead of leveling the playing field, we will have two industries that do the same work, TNCs and taxi cabs, and now they are again in a disparate treatment. So I'm concerned, Mr. Chair, if this is a bill that we should move forward at this time, because I think that we might have a problem. I mean, before yesterday, what happened yesterday, the bill was good, but I'm a little concerned today.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, if you want to look at timing, I think that's kind of the issue. My opinion is this bill goes in effect like any other bill in the year or so. That's the effective date of this bill. The governor's plan is not going to be in effect by the end of this year, believe me. It'll take time. So it'll probably be over the fall. We'll get some proposals at the end of the year. Our committee, the legislature as a whole will have to deal with that in 2017, and we will formulate our opinion about what we want to do. And it'll probably be part of a budget process, I would assume. So the next fiscal year, we'll have the budget address the subject. That's now what I just said may not happen, but that's kind of the logical way of dealing with it in terms of a process. If you want to describe kind of how I think a process would work, that would probably be a fairly accurate process that could happen here. Yeah, Senator Gaines.
Yeah, if I could maybe get some clarification from Jennifer in terms of how this transition would occur with the change with the
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to comment. So far, yes, this just came up that the governor has the intent of moving transportation to the transportation agency and from the CPUC. Right. It's always been TPAC's intent to be placed wherever the state decides to regulate transportation. You're right, right now in our bill it says the CPUC. We would be looking during this break in July to be working with the governor's office and the legislature on how we want to craft our bill to make any transition that happens smooth, and so that we, are able to smoothly move taxis wherever they need to be. But we do expect that we would want them with everybody else.
Mr. Chair, if I could follow up, but if the bill proceeds as it's written now, taxi cabs would be with the CUP, the PUC, correct?
The language in the bill today does have us in the CPUC. We would need to do amendments in July and to be able to change that to make sure that there's a transition.
Okay.
The transportation agency.
Okay. So
one of the things, members, I think I'll just say this. My response to the governor's proposal was transportation belongs in transportation. I think I'd say that, being logical about it, not in that sense. The transition from the proposal here to the Public Utilities Commission may be something that we can play an important role in as a legislature, guiding this through with this bill as a vehicle to do that. See, so that's one thing I'll say. The other thing is that transportation safety is an untapped issue that we need to address. This transportation safety, 5,000 deaths, 40,000 injuries in California annually. It's like one of the worst public health disasters that we have, and we don't have a coordinated response to that public health disaster. Transportation safety has to be a higher priority in the state. We can reduce the deaths and injuries, and I really love the idea of focusing on it in the transportation agency to help us with that. And having the safety stuff spread around in all these different agencies is inappropriate given the seriousness of the problem that we have. So those are my comments on this. I would recommend we move forward with this bill with the amendments. So move the bill. I think there's a motion. Any other questions, comments? This is an issue we'll discuss more and perhaps have a special meeting on with the governor's plan is fleshed out. We'll have a special meeting on that, but you heard my general response to the governor. Okay, we have a motion. Any other questions you would like to close Assemblyman?
Thank you very much. And just to address the issue again with the governor's response, I think in the spirit of the direction of where the governor is going, the recognition that something needs to be changed. And this is all part of the conversation to move it to a different direction. And no doubt we will be delighted to continue to be engaged with each and every one of you on that conversation as we move forward. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Call the roll, please.
AB 650, the motion is do pass as amended and will refer to the Appropriations Committee. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Aye. Allen, aye. Bates? Bates, no. Gaines? Gaines, aye. Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Leyva? McGuire? Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski?
7 votes in favor. We'll leave the roll open for absent members. Thank you. We'll go to Assemblymember Ting. Ting's here. Okay, Assemblymember Ting has a couple bills, so I know it's a easy. You have the floor, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. AB 1677 is our tour bus safety bill. Currently, only 30% of tour buses are actually inspected annually. This has caused issues in my city, San Francisco, but also should be of concern to anybody who has tour buses in their community. This allows local jurisdictions to contract with California Highway Patrol to increase the number of inspections on tour buses. We respectfully ask for aye vote.
Okay, any questions? Witnesses in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco and Office of Mayor Ed Lee. Respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Okay. Witnesses opposing, please. Any opposition? Okay, I see none. Questions from members? We have a motion on the bill. Okay, we have a motion to approve this. No more questions. Call the roll, please. Would you like to close?
Disrespectfully ask for aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
AB 1677, the motion is do pass and refer to the Appropriations Committee. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
No.
Cannella, no. Allen? Allen, aye. Bates? Bates, no. Gaines? Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye.
We have 6 votes in favor, and we'll hold that open for absent members. Assemblyman, you can go on to your next item, which is 25. Item 25 is 2428. You have the floor on that bill.
Thank you, Senator. This is a district bill. It would allow the city and county of San Francisco to lease Caltrans land parcels that are under freeways at 10% of market rate for the purposes of creating parks and open space. This bill is limited to only 10 parcels in San Francisco. As you all know, space is at a premium in my town. Given the amount of Caltrans land that are underneath freeways, this allows us an opportunity to really convert those empty lots into parks and open space. Respectfully ask for aye vote.
Do we have any witnesses in favor, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco and San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee. We're the sponsors of AB 2428, and as Mr. Ting said, this bill would allow the city and county to lease at a discounted rate up to 10 parcels from Caltrans for park, recreational, and open space purposes in order to meet the goals set forth in SB 375 and implemented through the Bay Area's Sustainable Community Strategy. Leasing parcels for these purposes at fair market value or even at a small discount, given San Francisco's real estate market, is not feasible. To put this in perspective, we currently lease land for a skate and dog park, which costs the city almost $5 million. We cannot afford to do more projects like this at the current rate. San Francisco is currently authorized to lease parcels at a discounted rate for emergency shelter or feeding programs, and this bill would add these very specific purposes to the list. Thank you, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Questions? One question. Senator Allen.
I noticed that the California Transportation Commission was in opposition, and I didn't see anything in the analysis that talks about their opposition. I just want to get a better understanding. Are they here to speak on it, or?
We're going to call them.
If they're not here, I'm happy to.
Yeah, he is.
Perfect.
He's here. He's here. I recognize him. He used to work for us.
You still allow him in the building?
Sure.
Sorry.
Former staff member for our committee.
Eric Thronson with the California Transportation Commission. The commission is opposed to this bill primarily for the precedent it sets of giving away property that was purchased by the funds from the state highway account, revenues that were generated from all over the state for the precise purpose of benefiting a particular community in the state. While the bill has been narrowed significantly to only 10 parcels, it's the precedent really that the commission is concerned with. These parcels are revenue generating for a state that doesn't have enough transportation dollars to begin with, and it is difficult for the commission to be supportive of such an effort. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Kind of question a little bit. Doesn't the state let parcels all over the state of California be used for like open space or parks and things like that if they're next to a freeway? I think that's been commonly done all over the place. Is that true? Does anybody know?
There is some precedent for it, Mr. Chair, as I mentioned. There's a number of examples around the state where Caltrans has the ability to lease parcels at a discounted rate, and as I mentioned, those are predominantly for emergency shelter or feeding programs. They can also lease it for nothing to transit systems and just other public transportation purposes. And then finally, there is some incidents of leasing it for open space. However, it's been at fair market value. And as I mentioned in my testimony, it's not something that in a city like San Francisco we can afford to do much of.
Okay, is there a policy on that? Does the state have a policy on
The CTC, yes, sir, the CTC does have a policy on that. So there is, as Mr. Robinson has mentioned in statute, the CTC, or the state, is allowed to adopt policies for very specific purposes like feeding programs in particular jurisdictions. However, this is a different precedent. I believe this is giving away, essentially giving away property that is otherwise generating revenue for the state for the purposes of state.
Senator Roth?
So I want to make sure I'm clear. So these 10 parcels, are they currently being leased by Caltrans?
That is our understanding, yes, sir.
At what rate?
Well, I don't know about these 10 particular parcels because I don't know which 10 particular parcels are being referred to, but before the bill was amended and it was narrowed to 10 parcels, all of the parcels that were being discussed were about $10 million worth of revenue annually to the state.
So,
and I think this is about 1/7 of all the parcels.
That pursuant to lease agreements, what happens? We break the agreements and do this, or?
Senator, if I may. We early on identified, in working with Caltrans, right-of-way division in San Francisco, identified 10 parcels that we were interested in looking at. And those parcels had existing uses on them that were about 1 to 3 year leases, and the majority of them were for public parking purposes. That has then, as Eric mentioned, because we're limiting it to 10, and those are only example, and we have yet to really break out the maps and identify which ones may be available right now or which ones are currently tied up. But we were able to put a rough estimate of about $1 million on it, 1.2 million, in terms of what it may cost the department. And I'll just note for
that's the revenue loss.
That's the revenue loss. And if I may, I'd just like to clarify that that is a loss of revenue that's paying debt service on transportation bonds. That's not money that's being spent on maintenance of the state highway system.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do anybody else have any questions on this? Okay. Are there other opposition? Do you have any closing statements?
I think the only thing I would just,
I'm in support. Jeannie Wardwell with the California Bicycle Coalition, in support.
All right.
only thing I would add is just, given that we are talking about compensating Caltrans for 10% of the market rate, as you all know, land values in San Francisco are quite astronomical, so 10% of hundreds of millions of dollars is still a lot of money. So again, I think there's I think we're trying to fairly compensate Caltrans at the same time having a public purpose to turn some of these parking lots into open space and parks. Respectfully ask for a vote.
Other questions? I was recommending in favor of this. I didn't see that it was that unusual, in my opinion. So, anybody else? Do we have a motion on this?
Move the bill.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll call the roll, please.
AB 2428, the motion is due, pass, and refer to the Appropriations Committee. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Canella?
No.
Canella, no. Allen? Bates? Bates, no. Gaines? Galgiani? Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski?
If 4 votes in favor, we'll await other members to vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see. We got Assemblywoman Bonilla. I like her because she approved my bill today, 2 bills. So,
Well, it's
okay, we turn the floor over to you, Assemblywoman.
Thank you.
This is AB 1697. This is the Alternative Renewable Fuel and Vehicle Technology Program. You have the floor.
Yes, it is, and it's a great program, especially, I think, as we're looking at the governor's call to reduce petroleum use by 50% in 2030. Some of you may know I actually represent a district that has 4 oil refineries and a 5th one next door. So when we're talking about investment in green energy, I'm concerned about my workforce. Essentially, in a nutshell, what my bill would do is include workforce development as one of the criteria for grant proposals under which they would be scored in order to incentivize potential grantees to include job training opportunities. That's what the bill does. I think we have this $100 million annually that is being granted, and to consider workforce development as an essential element, and at least an element that in terms of that application would move you up in the pack is something that's going to help all of our communities. I have Carl London here to speak on the bill as well, from Workforce Development, representing Workforce Development, and ask for your aye vote.
Okay, witnesses in favor, please.
Mr. Chairman and members, Carl London here on behalf of the California Workforce Association. These are the 48 local workforce development boards throughout California. We think this is a good bill. This is aimed at an important sector of jobs and job training that are necessary for the future, and urge your support for this bill. And thank you for the water, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in favor, please? Witnesses in favor. Witnesses opposed. Any witnesses opposed? There's a motion for the bill. Any questions? Do you have a closing statement on this?
I'd ask for your aye vote.
Okay, we have a motion in favor. We'll call the roll, please.
AB 1697, the motion is due pass and we refer to the Appropriations Committee. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Allen? Bates? Bates, no. Gaines? Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski?
We have 6 votes in favor, and we'll hold that roll open for absent members. Thank you very much. Okay.
We have to work next.
Okay, we have one of my neighboring assembly members, Mr. Bill Quirk, is AB 1785. You have the floor, Assemblyman.